Let me hit record. Hello, hello. So tonight I want to go there. I want to talk about a topic that I actually know for a fact is pretty common amongst our team and also amongst a lot of coaches. And the topic is anxiety. And so tonight I'm going to share with you some common things that anxiety will do to you in your business. And I'm going to share with you how to overcome them because and I'm going to say she because in my world it's a she is a B word, right? There's a kid in the room, so I'm not going to say it, but she is a B word in my world, okay? And in my world, she has made it hard to overcome things in my business. And I see it in some of you. And I see that some of you have had it for a long time. Some of you are dealing with it right now, and some of you may deal with it down the road. So I'm going to talk to you about her. Her is anxiety. I'm going to share with you just sort of like, okay, how do you tell her to get out of your own head? So let's just talk about that tonight. So basically, you have signed up for a job that requires you to be on, we'll say 7 days a week, right? How many of you feel like that with your coaching business where you're like, I'm on, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day or life is throwing me storms, I'm supposed to be motivating, right? And so that causes pressure. How many of you feel pressure? You're like, oh my gosh, I have to come up with a post today when you may not be feeling like it, right? Like you just don't have it. And so that in itself can cause people to feel anxiety, to feel that feeling of like, oh my gosh, how am I going to motivate when I can't even motivate myself to go work out today? And so that in itself, knowing that you've got to be present on social media and you've got to show up for others, it can cause anxiety to come in, even if you never met her before or you never had her before. And so it's common that a new coach may feel a sense of anxiety from the fact that all of a sudden they're showing up on social media now, or they have to. Some of you may feel anxiety because you're having to share pieces of you that aren't pieces that have been available to the public, right? You know, you come and I talk to you and I'm like, you know what? Your content's good. You're posting about your food and your workouts, but like you didn't share the hard stuff yet. And you're like, oh, I don't want to share that, right? Because that's a storm that I'm sitting in that I don't want to share. And some of you have had to peel back the layers of your onion and get really raw. And that's really scary to put pieces of yourself out there on social media that are vulnerable. So that in itself can cause anxiety, right? So a lot of the things that we do, sending invites, so inviting and talking to strangers on social media, again, another huge anxiety factor for many people. When you look at all the behaviors that we do, it's no wonder some of us have anxiety or we see an anxiety flare up or out of nowhere, you're like, son of a gun, I think I have anxiety, right? And so here's what I want you to know. Anxiety, even though she's a B word, okay, she's a bitch, she doesn't like it when you fight back to her, okay? And when you do fight back to her, you get the power. And so tonight, I'm going to just share with you a little bit more about what you can do. So if you're feeling this way, or if you're in this boat, or you've been in this boat, I want to just give you a great big sisterhood hug and say, girl, you're not alone. Been there, done that. We've been there. And I want you to be okay with saying it and talking about it and sharing about it. And quite honestly, if anxiety is something that you're dealing with in your life, not just because of coaching, you should 100% talk about it on social media. And here's why. If you go out, say you go out with your friends to dinner in a couple weeks and you're chit-chatting about life, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have anxiety over XYZ. Chances are, if you're out with 10 friends, 6 of them are like, oh, I have anxiety too. Right? Like they all seem to have it. And some of it has to do with our day and age and the way we're living our lives. But it's very common, and it will help you to build relationships with people because here's what they think. People on social media think that you are Superwoman. You cook clean meals. You somehow exercise 5 to 6 days a week. You're running a side hustle business and you're pouring into yourself with personal development and you're just like this shiny object that they are not. Okay. There are lots of women who are watching you who are like, I could never be like her. And so they need to understand that if you are the woman battling the anxiety, you can show them I'm her but I'm doing these things to not stay her, right? To not be her, okay? Because if she decides to not work out and not meal plan and not get over herself, as our book says, get over your damn self, okay? Then she's miserable, right? You know her. How many of you know her? She's got anxiety and she's miserable and she is not out of her own way. Do any of you work with someone like her where she's a hot mess, but she doesn't know how to get help, right? So you have to show them that, guys, I am her, but I don't want to stay her. And so here's what I do to not be her, or to how I deal with her. Okay. So I want you to know that number one, she will derail you for probably about a week if you let her. Okay, that's what I see, at least with myself. If I see that anxiety comes in and hits, then I see myself have about 1 week of my train has slowly stopped leaving the station, or it's stopped on the tracks and I'm just sitting there, okay? So she likes to derail your train. She likes to tell you that you don't have it all together, and she likes to tell you that you can't handle it all, okay? She's the voice that gets inside your head that says your plate is too full. Why are you trying to do this? And your posts are not good enough. You'll never be successful. She is the coach, or she is the voice that says that paycheck that was $150, it's not enough, right? I want to be making $500. You should be making $1,000 by now. Or, so-and-so joined when you did. So why do you not have more success than her? Or why are you less successful than her? Okay. So that's what anxiety will tell you. It'll tell you you're not good enough. It'll tell you you can't do it. But it is very much hard to overcome that voice when it's in your head. Okay. And so you need to realize that one way to make that voice stop, or to make him or her stop saying those things to you, is for you to take action. Okay. Because here's what happens with anxiety. I know it because I've experienced it. When anxiety hits, you stop. You stop inviting. You stop wanting to post. You stop reaching out. You stop checking into your challenge groups. You stop exercising. That's what happens, okay? Because you feel debilitated. You feel like you can't do any of it. Everything feels overwhelming when you're having a serious anxiety situation, okay? Like I'm talking, it's hard to do the laundry because you just feel like you can't do it. And until you've walked those shoes, you don't get it. But if you've walked them and you can speak publicly about it, people totally get it. Like if you're listening to this call and you have anxiety and you're hearing me say oh, you can't do the dishes or the laundry or whatever. And that's not for everyone, but for most people, you're like, that's exactly how I feel. And all of a sudden, when you feel that way, how in the world are you going to invite your challenge group? How in the world are you going to be a light for someone when you're like, I'm the dimmest light here, right? Like my light is barely shining. And so you have to realize that your job as a coach requires you to tell anxiety, you've got to hit the highway, honey, because I have work to do. And so here's what you've got to do. You've got to learn to recognize her, okay? Because that's the first thing, right? You have to be okay saying, I know that I'm struggling with anxiety right now. Because some of you don't know how to recognize it. You're like, I just don't feel right, or I just feel overwhelmed, and I don't know what it is. Girl, I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's anxiety, okay? When you're feeling that way, it's anxiety. But you have a choice, and that's to work to not feel that way. So when you feel it, I need you to just say, okay, I know you're here. I hear you. I see you. I see that you showed up. And that's fine. You chose to be here, but I'm going to choose to kind of push you aside and move on in spite of you. Okay. So that's what you've got to make a decision to do. You've got to say, I hear you, I see you, but now I'm going to ignore you. And so the first thing that you can do is to recognize it. Okay. Allow it to be there. Like I do that. Like I say, I just went through it last week and I'm like, okay, I know this is anxiety. And I had to say it out loud. Like I had to say to Kevin, I'm having anxiety, and I didn't know where it was coming from, but I had to acknowledge it. And so if you're dealing with it and you know you're dealing with it, own it. Just say it out loud. Say it to your friends or your spouse or someone and say, I'm having a hard week. I'm dealing with anxiety. So that's step number one. The next step for me is to take massive action. So whatever it is you don't want to be doing, maybe it's invites for you. You have to send the invites, okay? Because anxiety will tell you, no, you can't send it. you can smash her in the face by sending the invites. I promise you, like, whatever it is you're anxious about, the best way to get through it is to do it anyways. It's okay to be anxious about it. Like, you can say, like, I know I'm anxious about this. I know I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay. You have to take action because she doesn't like when you do it. Okay. So massive action will help you to feel less anxious. Here's the deal. There's a couple ways that you can get through this. Okay. The first one is to get organized. Okay. If you're feeling anxious, you need to get your life together. You need to make a grocery list so that you have a meal plan, or you need to, if social media posts make you feel crazy and you're like, I just can't post on social media. I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Then you sit your butt down right now and you write out some post ideas. That's it. Okay. Or you say to yourself, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I have too much to do in my challenge group. Nope. You sit down and you say, I'm going to schedule out 2 days worth of content, and you'll start to feel better. And all of a sudden you'll want to schedule day 3 and day 4, and it will just feel easier. Okay. So you have to take massive action. You have to get organized. But here's the deal. Anxiety can also cause you to want to organize so much that you don't take action, right? So it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to deal with my anxiety by getting organized. I'm going to get out my planner and my calendar, and I'm going to make all these to-do lists. But now it's 10 o'clock and I need to go to bed, right? Because sleep's super important if you're dealing with anxiety. And then guess what happens? You lay your head on the pillow and you're laying there and you're like, oh no, I have anxiety because I just spent my whole power hour planning my week, but I didn't send any invites today, and now I feel like a horrible coach, and I'm not showing up, and I'm not going to hit Success Club. How many of you have had those words run through your head, right? Where you do all this planning, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything. And when you don't do anything, it makes you feel terrible. And it makes you feel like tomorrow you can't do it. And you just find yourself in this vicious cycle over and over and over again. So if this is you, where you're the queen of the to-do list, you write it all down, you put it on a list, but you don't actually do it, you got to eat the frogs, okay? You got to send the invites. Before you make the pretty banners, before you make the Canva images, like, you got to do the work, girl. So you've got to get organized, eat the frogs. Here's one thing that you need to do. You need to take care of yourself. When you are struggling with anxiety, whether it's like a bout with it or a long-term, situational period with it, maybe it's several months, you've got to say, while my business matters, myself matters more than anything else. You've got to lean in hard to rest, self-care, exercise. You've got to do what makes you feel good. And what happens is when you start taking care of yourself and feeling a little bit better, all of a sudden you're like, I can do this. I can help other people. But if you can't take care of you and you can't get yourself to the basement or the living room or wherever you're working out, it's hard to be a light for other people, right? It's hard to be motivating. So I want you to work on leaning into your program, your nutrition plan, your self-care, and that's going to help you to feel like, I'm okay, I got this. So exercise is important. Another thing is personal development. Some of you who have anxiety are not even doing PD. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's like going to the hockey game without a hockey stick, like, and going out on the ice. Why would you ever do that? Especially if you have anxiety. If you have anxiety, if I tell you to read 20 minutes a day, you should probably read 60, right? Because let's be honest, you're in your own head already. You've got to just say, like, I'm not going to allow this feeling to get me. So maybe it's like podcast on play all day with earbuds in while you make dinner, while you get a shower, while you sit at your desk at work. One earbud's got PD in, okay? Because anxiety is talking, and you have to learn how to talk louder than her. And so you've got to fill your head with people who are going to make you say to her, you can't stay here. You can visit, but you can't stay. Now, one of the things that I have found a true direct correlation between my screen time and my levels of anxiety. I've been at this long enough that I can confirm that, okay? I don't love this. My iPhone tells me if I'm up or down for the week on screen time. How many of you have yours showing you that now? Like, mine gives me this notification. It's like, you spent an average of 6 hours a day on social media. You're down 10% than last week. And when I see those numbers, if you don't have it turned on your iPhone, you should turn it on, because it's going to give you a powerful insight of how well have you been using your time. Every week I try to see a little decrease in my screen time. And there are weeks when I see increases. Like, for example, last week, I was struggling with anxiety, and my screen time was averaging around 8 hours. I was on my phone for 8 hours a day. What the hell was I doing for 8 hours a day on my phone? And then I got off social media. I said, you know what? You got to stop. Less, okay? Less social media, less stories, less watching, less not taking action. I already feel better. I'm telling you, you will feel better if you stop watching everybody and you just do you, okay? Do your stories, send your invites, and get off. Stop looking at all 10 of the top 10 coaches, what they did in their stories, or all the people who signed up when you did. Stop watching their stuff, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, not enough. My posts aren't good enough. My message isn't good enough. And your light starts to look really dim. Okay, so those are some of my tips for you on how to fight back against anxiety. I wanted to keep this call a little bit shorter tonight because I want to give you time to go work your business so that you don't get off this call and you're like, it's 8:30, I got to go to bed in 30 minutes, and now I have anxiety because I didn't get anything done, right? So I am seriously rooting for you. I know that it's common. I know that some of you are walking through it. I know that some of you are hiding behind it, and I need you to just own it. I need you to say, I've got anxiety. I need you to talk about it on your social media platforms, and I need you to share with people how you get through it. Because I promise you, somebody's going to say, there is no way you have anxiety. How do you have anxiety and you're still doing all those things? You're going to be a light for them, even just because you simply showed up in a time when, trust me, when you're going through an anxiety situation or a storm, you don't want to show up. You don't want to post. You don't want to be seen. You want to be small, and you need to make yourself big instead. Okay? Does anybody have anything they want to share in the chat section or the comments? Do you want to unmute? You can if you'd like. Christina shared a book. If you guys are looking at the chat, she said, if you have legitimate anxiety, there's an amazing book and program called Dare by Barry McDonough. There's also an app and a Facebook group. It's been a life changer for me. DARE stands for the 4 steps of living with anxiety: diffuse, allow, run towards, and engage. Christina, is there anything you want to say to give advice for everybody else?
I will say that, obviously I get no kickback from this program. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're good.
Yeah. But excuse me. This guy is from Ireland, and he is amazing. And you all know I work in the healthcare field, and had a heart issue in May, and then developed panic disorder from the heart issue. And so that is why I had to step away from the business, because exactly what Sarah said, I had to take care of me. And I did, and I had to recover. And it honestly, it has been a life changer. It's amazing. The book is great. It is on Audible. I've listened to it over and over. The app I use every single day. There's a free part of it, and then there's a subscription part that's like $9.99 a month. There's insomnia, there's worry, there's anxiety, panic, all kinds of stuff. It's just absolutely amazing. But he does exactly what you said, in terms of basically he has you make up a person, or some sort of character. You need to make your anxiety almost comical. And so like I named my anxiety Hemi. And like my nurse knows it, and Hemi is short for hemorrhoid, because it's a pain in my ass, literally. So sometimes, like if I have a procedure or something at work, I'll tell her, hey, Hemi's out. And like, she knows I'm just feeling extra anxious. And it's a joke, and you have to be able to laugh about your own anxiety. And it's amazing how he does it. So basically one of the biggest things, kind of how Sarah was saying, you have to say, I've got this. If you repeat over and over in your head, I accept and allow these anxious feelings, it really brings everything back down. But they go over anxiety from health anxiety to social anxiety to agoraphobia to everything. It's just amazing.
Sounds amazing. That's awesome. Wouldn't you agree, Christine? I mean, you work in women's health. Wouldn't you agree that there are so many women dealing with anxiety, but doing it silently?
95% of the people that I see, and I see 120 people a week.
Isn't that crazy?
It's unbelievable.
Like, you are so not alone. Like, those of you in this call or listening to the recording who's like, oh my gosh, I have it too, but I don't want to talk about it. Like, talk about it. Like, that's the only way you're going to feel better. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, all my friends have it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's amazing. I do talk about it. Barry McDonough is, again, from Ireland. He's trying to create a world movement in regards to anxiety. And he has a hashtag now, and I can't remember what it is, but I have it on a couple of my posts planned for this week. I can post it in the group. I can't remember what it is, but he's really trying to make this a worldwide movement to take some of the stigma off. And I totally agree with that, because I am very limited on posting about my anxiety because of my ex-husband, because he can use it in court, because mental illness is still looked at as so derogatory, and it just can't be. Women cannot be scared to come out and say that we have it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. That's super helpful. It's been fun to watch you get your light back.
No
too.
problem.
Yeah. Watch her. She's making her comeback right now. All right, ladies, I love you all so much. And I know that whatever you are battling against right now, you are bigger than whatever storm cloud is standing above you. Know that your business, if you choose to lean into the anxiety or the hardships or whatever it is that you have, been hiding behind, because I know that so many of you are, and whatever whatever you decide, you know what, this doesn't get to define me anymore, and I'm going to speak publicly about it, and you decide to own your truth, and you get big and you become a big light, your business is going to blow up. Okay. So decide to take the storm, lean into it, and grow from it. And oh my goodness, I just can't even imagine where your business will be if you decide to just be an open book and be a light for other people. Okay. We are here if you need us. You're not alone. Don't struggle alone. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.